How's it going, everybody? David Hedge here, House Hedge Gaming, and today I'm going to show you how to play a game that, yes, it's been out for a while. I haven't done a learn to play on this one yet, but I figured since Ravensburger Games is getting ready to release Lorcana later this year, and it is quite possibly one of the most anticipated TCGs in recent memory, I figured might as well go ahead and take a look at the predecessor that has basically opened the door for Lorcana. So let's take a look at Disney Villainous by Ravensburger Games. So before you start playing Disney Villainous, the number one thing you must do is find your villain. Now, in the base game, there are 6 villains to choose from. You have Prince John, Queen of Hearts, Jafar, Maleficent, Captain Hook, and Ursula. Each one of these villains has their own different objectives that they want to complete before the game is over. So for Ursula, you want to rule the seas. For Captain Hook, you want to capture that dastardly Peter Pan. For Maleficent, you want to curse the lands. For Jafar, you want to make all your wishes come true. For the Queen of Hearts, you want to perfect the perfect wicked shot. And then for Prince John, you want to gain the most power. So for this example of how to play the game, we're going to go with Prince John, and we're going to show you how to set up your board. All right, for Prince John, you get this nifty figure here. This will be moving around the board, showing where you're at in the land that he is from, whether it be Sherwood Forest, Friar Tuck's Church, Nottingham, or the jail. Now, once you have your board laid out, you have your figure, you have your power in the middle of the board for everybody to share, but let's be honest, this is going to go to John. Then you have 2 decks that you get to work with throughout the game. A very bad deck that the villain has to worry about. This is the Fate deck. This is all those goody two-shoes and everything you have to worry about throughout the game, but you can handle them no problem. And then you have your own personal deck. Now, each deck has their own different designs on the back. So, for example, this has the Prince John design from the famous archery scene, because you have his tent here from the archery contest. You have the axes that the rhinos would carry and the elephants. You have the treasure chest, you have jewels, you have the crown, but they should have pictured mommy. Oh well, maybe Rhea Ripley wasn't involved. Anyway, so you have that deck, and this deck here gives you different things to complete your goals. So you have your ally cards, which the allies will go from place to place throughout your realm. You have effect cards that will be able to help you complete your objectives, but also hinder your opponents. You have condition cards. Now, for you Magic the Gathering players, think of this as an enchantment that you can place on an ally or an enemy and be able to get some effects from it. Finally, you have item cards. Now, this is a bit like equipment cards. These will be able to help you out throughout the game, equipped to your allies. Conditions, they can be equipped to allies, but also they can have their own standalone things as well. But once you have your main deck, your Fate deck, your board, your figure, and finally, a little cheat sheet here, you are ready to begin the game. All right, once you have your board, your deck, your Fate deck, and the power set up in the middle of the board for everybody, it is time to deal out 4 cards to each player from their respective decks, and turns can start unfolding what will happen throughout the game. So, if Prince John goes first, he has no power to start off with, and he can choose which of these 4 places to go to on the board. Now, there are a few characters that have exceptions that have this little symbol here that is on their board. Now, this means that location is locked and you cannot go there to acquire any of the special abilities on that square unless you find a way to unlock it. So for example, with Captain Hook, he has to find Peter Pan before he can unlock his 4th location, which happens to be Peter Pan's tree. But in this case, Prince John doesn't start with anything locked, he locks people up. So each of these locations give you certain abilities to work with. The ones here, this shows little power symbols. This shows how much power you gain from that location. If you land at a location with this symbol, it lets you play a card. If you land on a symbol with the Fate, this is pretty cool. So with Fate, you choose one of your opponents and you get to look at the top 2 cards of their Fate deck and choose one to play. Now, it could be an ally, could be a condition, could be an item, could be something that just is not going to be good for your opponent to deal with. Now, they'll be doing the same thing to you, so we'll show you how that goes in a second. Next, if you land here, you can move items back and forth, also allies, which would be really helpful. If you land here, you get the discard cards, because at the end of your turn, you draw back up to your hand size of 4. So if you want to try and empty out your hand to get more options later on, this is a good one to go for. If you land on this one here, you get to vanquish an ally from your area. This will help clear off space up here. Finally, and I'll have to bring this in because there is one that is not on here. So this symbol here lets you activate your minions down here. And this one, little lightning bolt, lets you move a hero from up here to try to get them to one place or another that you wish for them to be. So again, referencing Captain Hook, he wants to get Peter Pan back to the ship. So he's going to make sure he moves that dastardly boy back to where he can finally beat him. So after that, let's say at the beginning of the turn, John's going first. He moves here to Friar Tuck's Church. So first off, he gets 2 power. That's 2 more power towards his victory. And then he can play 2 cards. Now these cards, each one is going to have a cost that you must play. To pay this cost, you just return that power back to the middle of the board. So, for example here, let's say I'm going to play these Wolf Archers. I will pay 2 power, and I will put them on the board, and you could choose any location that you want. Some items and some allies work better if you're at the location you wish to play them at, but for the Archers, they're good anywhere. So we're just going to place them here in Sherwood Forest. Now, after you're done playing cards, and after you're done making all these different changes you want to make on the board, all the different power you can acquire and stuff like that, you go ahead, end your turn, and you draw back up to your hand size. So I have 3 cards in my hand. I will draw up 1 more, and then it'll be my opponent's turn. Now let's say my opponent decides to be a complete and utter piece of poo and decides to fate me. So let's move this here. They would take the top 2 cards of the Fate deck, and they can choose one to play. And, well, it figures they get Robin Hood. So they get to choose where they would want to place them on my board. Now, if they place a hero on the board, when I move to that location, I cannot use any of the abilities under that hero. I have to get rid of that hero first before I'm able to use the abilities. Now, to do that, there are a couple ways. Being able to move here to vanquish a hero is one. Or if you have a total number of power equal to the amount down here for the hero, they will basically trade off and you'll be able to get that hero taken care of. But you also lose your allies, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. But you know what? To get rid of that dastardly Robin Hood, I would definitely do it. Now, play will continue, each player going across the board, activating their different spaces, collecting power, moving cards, fading each other until one person completes the objective. So for example, if Prince John gets 20 or more power, they win the game. And more importantly, all these other villains will finally realize that Prince John is truly the most dastardly villain in Disney history. And that is the quick overview of how to play Disney Villainous from Ravensburger. Well, there you have it. That is a quick how to play on Villainous from Ravensburger Games. And to me, it is the predecessor to Lorcana. If it wasn't for Villainous becoming one of the more popular titles that Ravensburger Games has in their catalog right now, with all the different expansions that they have, I don't think you would see Lorcana anytime soon. But being able to have Villainous to spring off into the Disney and Marvel and Star Wars versions of it, it just shows that they know what they're doing with a Disney property. Now, with Lorcana, they get to have minds of magic behind them, in addition to the minds from Ravensburger that have created games like Villainous. So you're going to be able to have that great amalgamation of ideas together to hopefully create a magnificent trading card game that has undoubtedly been one of the most anticipated games in quite some time. And hopefully I can get my hands on it and be able to learn how to play, because I would love to have a deck that has Stitch and that has characters in Toy Story and all. 'Cause I'm a big nerd. Like, I grew up on Disney movies and all, and just to have the chance to play a card game that focuses more on the Disney aspect. Now, don't get me wrong, I dabbled a little bit in the Kingdom Hearts game when that was out several years ago, and that was a good premise on that, but I do believe that this has something special, and I can't wait to see what Ravensburger does with it, and hopefully I'll be able to get to Gen Con and check out the game there. If not, I'll pick it up when it comes out later this year. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you like it, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let everybody know that House Hedge Gaming is here for all of your gaming needs. So until next time, guys, stay safe and take care.